What's going on, everyone? It's Mike back again, and this is your it's a little bit of a dissection of yesterday. Obviously, it was very impassioned, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the game. So did John, to be fair to him. And obviously, the situation moving forward, it looks like Frank Lampard may well be out of the job tomorrow. John, what's your thoughts, mate? What's going on at our club?
Who knows? I mean, I don't think the board know what's going on, Michael. And before we talk about the football side of it from yesterday, I did see a video from Sky Sports where Farhad Moshiri and Bill Kenwright got asked when they come out, basically what's going on with Frank, blah, 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 blah. Farhad Moshiri's response was, it's not up to me. Now, was that a dig at the fans? Because of what he said the other week about, a lot of the managerial appointments, he's listened to the fans and the fans have wanted them. Was that a dig at the fans? Or has he actually admitted that Usmanov owns the club and it's up to him? But why can't our board members, why do they have to do it all the time and bring disgrace onto themselves and the club of speaking to the media, and they never speak to the fans? So why can't they just get in their car and go home? Why do they have to give these little interviews that they give to Sky Sports? And we spoke about what Moshiri done with TalkSport. Just get in your car and go home, and don't bring any more disgrace onto the club, because the club now has become a laughingstock, Michael. It's a laughingstock. We're getting laughed at. And as I said last night, I was very passionate last night, and we've had great feedback from that video, but I did want to apologise because the language was a bit choice last night. And I know you said it was all right to swear last night, but I probably did go a bit over the top. So this is a bit more of a relaxed one and try and put things into context more of what's going on at this great club. And you know what, Michael? I'm unsure whether he'll sack him. I think the board are that inept on every decision they make. Will they sack him? Because I've seen a rumour today on Twitter that they met Farhad Moshiri and the board and Frank Lampard, and they were willing for him to put his case across. There's no case to put across, Michael. It's a results game.
Over 38 games. Sorry, John. Over 38 games, Frank Lampard has ended up with 35 points. In any normal season, you'd probably be very close to relegation, if not, but in the bottom three. So for me, over 38 games, albeit in two separate seasons, he doesn't deserve to be Everton manager. We spoke about it before, and you was absolutely right with what you said yesterday. He's a nice man. But we've got to stop with this sentiment, because if we continue with this sentiment, we're not just going to be in the Championship, we'll be in League One, because we've got the financial burden of a stadium and probably no ability to sign players financially. So we're going to be
90 million pound we lose if we drop down, Michael. A club in Everton's situation where apparently it was a 500 million pound stadium. Then Moshiri, when he was talking to his mates on TalkSport, said it was now 750 million. When you've got the burden, as you've said a few times, of a stadium around your neck, losing 90 million pounds if you get relegated, I'll reiterate what I said last night, Michael. If that happens to Everton, there's no coming back for Everton. They may as well just pack the club up, because go on.
And you're right. And when you look at the 3-year losses, and we all talk about financial fair play and all of that stuff, so I won't go into it too much, but over 3 years, Everton recorded losses of something like 330 million. Imagine if just one of those seasons were in the Championship. That 330 million would be considerably more. So we are in a real mess, and I don't know what the answer is. I'm not going to sit here and lie to anyone and give my opinion and say, well, I would do X, Y, and Z, and that as a result we stay in the Premier League. I think the only thing that keeps us up, and I've said this before, is a new manager bounce to come in and touch wood. And I mean, it is touching wood. win 5 or 6 games somehow, and that with the 3 games and hopefully some draws is literally just enough to stay up. But even that at this point, John, is looking really challenging, and the board have dilly-dallied time and time again, as they have done in this occasion, on sacking, yes, a very nice man, but he's needed to go for a long time. And we sit here now, we're not quite bottom of the league, but the only difference is goal difference. The team that is bottom of the league has beaten us. The team that are above us has beaten us. The team above them has beaten us. The team above them have beaten us. And the team above them, I think, have drew with us. And then above them has beaten us. So, you know, when we're sitting there and we're saying, yes, we've played some good football, and we beat teams like Crystal Palace, for example, 3-0, which was a good result. We went to Brentford and got a 1-1 draw, fairly good result. We went to Leeds and got a 1-1 result, fairly decent result. Both of those games we scored goals, which I think we would have won the game if they weren't offside or disallowed or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, this Everton team isn't good enough. It's not good enough, and that is recruitment, and that's on people like, you know, Steve Walsh and Marcel Brands and Kevin Thirlwell, you know, with Malpai and McNeil, etc. But we do not have a coach, unfortunately, in Frank Lampard that knows how to get the best out of people. He just doesn't know how to, and that's his biggest criticism, and unfortunately will also be his biggest downfall.
I think what he said last week, that he turned around and he said he knows he's not the best coach in the world or what have you. I think he knows that he's not up to the job, and he does want to carry on giving it a go. But the facts of the matter are, Michael, what's going on in the boardroom is now rubbing off on the players. You can see it a mile off. It's rubbing off on Lampard. And in a way, I think he wants to get sacked, Michael, because it'll put him out of his misery, because he looks ill. You know, he looks like he's got the weight of the world on his shoulders. And going on to the football side of it, the problem we've got now, Michael, is there's no leaders in that team. There's no one who will grab the rest of the team by the scruff of the neck and went, right, this is it. This is what we do. Let's fight for this shirt. We've got no one. And too many of the players who we thought were leaders, as in Tarkowski, Cody, they're not performing well. So it's rubbing off. And the back four, for me, were conceding stupid goals like we did yesterday, because you've got no protection from the midfield. And it's from back to front. Calvert-Lewin didn't win a header yesterday, I don't think, Michael. It's poor coaching. It's poor coaching. What's Ashley Cole doing? What's Paul Clement doing? I can't think of the other fella's name. What are they actually doing on this training pitch? Because week in, week out, it's the same turgid football. Nothing's changing. We've tried different formations. We've tried 4-3-3. You know, we've had 5 at the back, or the 2 attacking fullbacks. We've played that formation, worked against City. It's not working anymore. The players don't know what to do, Michael. They don't know what to do in a match situation. And it all stems to the manager, Michael. And something's got to change before it's too late. Because if it doesn't, going back to what we said before, Michael, it'll be the end of Everton Football Club, mate. And that breaks our hearts. All Evertonians, that would do them in. Do you know what I mean? But do you know what they do, Mike? Do you know what they need, Michael? None of that video we done last night. Send that to that team. Someone get hold of that video and send it to them, and show that team how passionate us fans are, and let them go, hell yeah, look at that. We need to fucking pull our socks up here. Just let them see that video, play that video to them, and let them show passion like us Everton fans, not just me and you. I listen to different podcasts like yourself, Michael, and now all Evertonians now are speaking with passion because they know the situation we're in.
we're all joined. We're all joined up. Every podcast. I said this in the video. Every podcast I've listened to, any YouTube content creators, all of them I've heard have called out to the board. I mean, we did get some incredible comments yesterday. We got some real love. There's a few negative comments, but there always is. But we got some real love, especially you, John, because you just let it pour. You just let it pour. You showed your emotion, and you went from being angry to sad. And do you know what? I would say that 95, if not 100% of the fan base is doing that. You know what? That game finished yesterday, and I'm bitey. I'm moody. I'm not a nice person. I'm sitting there. Don't get me wrong. There's no like domestic abuse or anything. Jesus Christ. But I'm not the joyful, happy Mike that I usually am Monday to Friday. But them weekends are rubbish. They're rubbish because every week we're losing, and people make jokes and they say, "Oh, well, you'll be fine in the championship, Mike, because you'll win a few games, you'll be happier." But you know what?
Will we?
I don't want to be in the championship. I want to see Everton. Do you know what's worse? And this is terrible. But our standards at this point have dropped so low. I just don't want to be in a relegation battle. I just want to see them where we're not in a relegation. And I genuinely, after about 8 games this season, I thought it was this season. I thought we're never going to be in a relegation battle this season. 12th or 13th, solid at the back. At one point, we conceded the least goals out of any team in the league. I sat there and thought, we're fine. We're not winning loads of games, but we're drawing a lot. And I think we lost 1 in 8 or something. And that was we lost 2 in 8, and I think that was against Villa and against Chelsea. First 2 games of the season, Villa away and Chelsea at home. There's no disgrace in losing away to home and at home. But John, it's almost like after about October, it just went down. And after that Palace game, after the high of that Palace game, it's like we just fell off the tree.
This team of players, Michael, is not a relegation team. There's some decent players. There's some shit, but there's some decent players. But that team there that we've got, Michael, is anything from a 10th to 14 mid-table team. We're no better than that. But we're no better than that. We'll admit that as Everton fans. We're no better than 10th. But we're not a second from bottom team. We're not we're not a team who should be in the relegation zones, Michael. So
is that our blue tinted glasses though saying that? Or
no,
what do other teams think? Do you get what I mean? It's so hard to judge now because obviously we are in it. I'm proud to be a Blue, and I believe Everton Football Club's the greatest team in the world, but we know they're not. We know they're not, but to me they are. And I sit here and I think, if you was to say to me, Mike, who is the bottom 3 in the Premier League, I'll probably give you the current bottom 3. And Southampton, Everton, and I think it's Bournemouth. They're the 3 worst teams in the league, in my opinion. And
the thing is, though, Michael, with a different manager, let's say, for example, I've said this a few times, not on here, but I've said it to you on the phone, and I might get shot down for this. People might agree with me.
I think.
I'm not saying I want Sam Allardyce back in any way, shape, or form, by the way, but if Sam Allardyce was in charge of this Everton team now, I guarantee you, we are not second bottom. We're not second bottom. If Sean Dyche was probably in charge of this team, we're not a second bottom team, Michael. It's poor management. As I said before, what's happening in the boardroom is rubbing off on the manager. It's rubbing off on the players. It's now rubbing off on the fans. There's absolutely not one thread of unity in this football club anymore. There's nothing. I seen the picture yesterday. I seen something the other day. Well, got told something the other day that Moshiri and Kenwright apparently have fell out and they're not speaking. We weren't even sitting next to each other yesterday in the ground. There was 2 seats between them. You know, how can you run a football club when the directors are not speaking? There's no one to make decisions. Graham Sharp come out yesterday, and he's done it. You know, for me, Graham Sharp's burnt his bridges now with this Everton fan base. Graham Sharp was always looked on as an icon of Everton Football Club, our super number 9. Right now, I'm telling you now, he's burnt his bridges with Everton fans. I think. Why did he have to do these interviews? He's done one as well. You know, basically sticking up for Denise Barrett Baxendale. There's still no proof of what went on with this headlock. Everton have refused to comment any more on the situation. If they had one little bit of footage or proof, they would not have said, we're not commenting on it anymore. They would have put it out there. So for me, it's all up in the wall, Michael. You know, up in the air. It's all up in the air. We don't know where we go from here. The board don't know where we go from here. They haven't got a clue. I've seen something on Sky Sports News today. I don't know if you've seen it. Everton's board looking into how bad the club's run and blah 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 blah.
They're doing
another review. How many reviews are they doing? They done one this time last year, didn't they? And I think you said, isn't there like a 20-point plan or something? Whatever it was, right? That plan now is a 120-point plan.
Oh, John, the problem is the plan is being implemented by people that don't know what they're doing. And
exactly.
And look, you've got a divide in the fan base and the media now. You've got people saying blame the owner, it's Farhad Moshiri. You've got people saying blame the board, it's Bill Kenwright, it's Denise Barrett Baxendale. The facts are, it's all of them. You know what? I sit here. I don't go for the owner, and I don't go for Bill. I go for all of them. They have all
the board of directors.
They're finished. You know, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know Grant Ingalls. I don't know what he does, and I'm not going to criticise him because I don't know. Denise, I don't know what she does, apart from she clearly works hard on this stadium because Keith Harris, wherever he's gone, is not doing anything with it. So I respect people who do a job, and you know, in any walk of life, if you do a good job, you tend to be visible, don't you? People see you and they say, "Oh yeah, you're doing a great job. Well done, Michael." John, yeah, you got me here really quick, mate. Thanks for that. Here's a tip or something. You know, you always have that positive. I can't sit there because the board don't communicate with me about the success stories that they have. So the only time I relate to the board is in negative messages because it's always negative with Everton. We are negative.
Positive.
So I don't know what to say. And then the only time they do communicate with us, it's through the media, which we all know. We all already know. Hate us. We all know it. You know, we know Sky hate us. We know referees hate us. We know the BBC don't like us. We know all of this. So we sit there, we hear bad messaging through a bad media source to us. And we've got no sticking up for us apart from us. You know, and while all of this is happening, those people on that board can get away with saying what they like to the media because they then put
the media back them up.
Yeah, they're then saying that we're being aggressive towards them. So if there was an over-aggressive protest that was a bit loud and we were walking down the sides of Goodison and we stopped them getting in the ground and whatever, it would be seen as mega aggressive and Everton fans have gone mad and we're all animals, when actually all we're trying to do is keep our club in the Premier League moving forward and not obliterating itself. And the people that are in charge don't have a clue. If I don't know the maths, so I'm not going to sit here. But honestly, if every single Evertonian that, you know, say there was 50,000, let's go with the new stage, let's go with the current stage and plus the 15,000 waiting list, 55,000 people. If we all had 100 grand, I don't know how much that works out to. Is that enough to buy Everton? If we all had 10 grand, is £1,000 enough? Whatever it is, honestly, mate, if I could get my money and my hands on it, I can't stand the people that are in charge of our club. And when they're coming out and they're saying things like, it's not my decision, and then Bill's like, it's not good. It's not good times. No, Bill, it's not. It's bad times. You know, as you alluded to last night, it's horrendous times. And you've been in charge of us for the last 35 years of horrendous times. So let's do something.
According to Bill, we've had good times.
And you know what? It's all in, you know, the best time I can say as an Everton fan is we got to a last 16 of the UEFA Cup final game against, I think it was Florentina at the time. We were 2-0 down. We got back to 2-2. We lost on penalties. I've gone to a semi-final twice and the final with Everton. That's my good times. We've qualified for the Champions League once in a season where I think we were favourites to go down because we just sold Rooney. So you sit here and you think, these good times, if they're the good times that you're on about, what about the good times that you had, John, and the good times my dad has? That's Everton Football Club.
Yeah, 80s, 90s.
What I want to ask you, John, obviously the game was bad. We dominated the ball yesterday. Very rarely do Everton dominate the ball. We had
60-40.
Yeah. But we had two. I think we had two clear opportunities or something.
Yeah. As we keep saying, as I said before, Calvert-Lewin didn't win a header. We need. Hopefully, this Danjuma deal gets done because we probably need someone like him. And apparently, he wants to come to Everton for the challenge. I'm not being funny. He just doesn't need a medical. He needs his head testing if he wants to come to Everton in the current situation. But the problem you've got with all that possession, we've got no creative players and we've got no one up front who can be asked to actually challenge for a header and put the defence under pressure. So this is why all this ticky-tacky football, it's not even nice football, 60-40%, doesn't matter. We could have had 90-10%. The problem is you've got all that possession was in the middle of the park. I think, personally, myself, we need to just go route one. Now, I know Calvert-Lewin's not winning headers, but if we can go route one and get someone up there with him for the flick-ons or what have you, you know, we put the opposition under more pressure. As you said there before, Michael, 60-40% and 2 shots on target. I mean, what does that tell you? The brand of football is absolutely dog. It's awful. And Frank Lampard has one way of playing. Now, good managers out there change the way they play for the opposition, or they'll make in-game changes, in-game tactical movements, if you want. You know, they'll change their in-game tactics if the game's not going their way. From the first whistle to the last whistle, when we're watching Everton, it's just the same turgid football.
And the problem is, though, and I don't know if you agree with this, but the managers were being linked with, you know, I think the top four, sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Dyche is favourite, Moyes is second, Espirito Santo is third, and Sam Allardyce is fourth. None of those managers,
I think.
None of those managers are going to play pretty ticky-tacky football. But I've got to be honest, I don't care.
You can't afford to. You can't afford to. You don't stay up in a relegation battle by playing nice football. It's got to be scrappy. They've got to start putting challenges. Do you know what, Michael? I seen a stat today, right? Everton got 1 yellow card yesterday. Now, I'm not saying I want Everton players to go steaming into challenges and hurt players. I'm not saying that. But when you're in a dogfight like we are, you should be getting more yellow cards because you should be putting tackles in. You should be roughing the opposition up. 1 yellow card. We're too nice. We're too nice.
And do you know what I noticed as well yesterday is you know, the two centre backs that for the start of the season we were raving about. I mean, we at one point we were talking about how we felt that we had our Everton back, because I think there was one game where Cody made a block, Mikolenko makes a block, Tarkowski makes a block, and we end up clearing it and carrying the ball out, etc. There was fight, there was real hunger to get a result. That seems to have gone. And like, you've got Tarkowski yesterday diving in tackles, diving.
Absolutely shocking for weeks, Tarkowski. Shocking.
You've got Cody, who positionally, I genuinely think you can question positionally where he's going. Like, you know, Amina yesterday, Amina come into the side and he looked a bit like Bambi on ice. It was like he was worried about, well, anything.
They all look worried, Michael. They're all playing with nerves. They're scared.
We should not be conceding, in my opinion. West Ham, I think, had only scored 15 goals up until yesterday. It might be 16, but it's not a lot. It's a similar number to us, right? Yeah. We've allowed them to score 2 goals with our 3 best centre-backs on the pitch, having played 5 in defence. I don't get it. And what made me laugh is I always watch Match of the Day because I like to just hear what they say. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I like to hear what they say. And one of the things that was mentioned last night, I thought was absolutely spot on, is we set up with so many defensive players. Yet we set up with so many defensive players, we're still conceding goals.
Conceding goals, yeah. Because they don't know. Each player doesn't know their job. And I keep alluding to this. It's poor. Listen, I know I'm slagging Frank off. In my opinion, he's not a good enough manager. So I will just say that I'm not pulling him through a hedge backwards. I'm just stating, in my opinion, the facts.
It is facts.
As you've just said there, Michael, the amount of defensive players that we had on the pitch yesterday, and Bowen twice went through us like a butter through a knife, like a hot knife through butter.
Straight through the middle. Straight through the middle.
Because each player doesn't know what they're doing, Michael, and it's poor coaching.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you now, Michael, and I've said this last night, and I'm going to say it again. We go down with Frank Lampard. We go down because it's not. He's not tactically aware of how we need to set up for the situation we're in. It's the same week in, week out. Do you know what? I'm made up we haven't got a game next week. I'm made up we haven't got a game for 2 weeks. Because it's bad enough. Your last thought when you go to bed and your first thought when you get up in the morning is Everton Football Club. It's what it's doing to us.
Yeah.
I've never felt this distanced from Everton. I've never felt this low. I feel lower than the Mike Walker days, and that was saying something. Last year, it did give us a chance of staying up. This year, it don't give us any sort of chance unless a change is made in the next couple of days, Michael.
In your heart of hearts, is it too late?
No. But a change has got to be made. It's too late if we don't make this change. If we don't win, look at the run of fixtures we've got coming up. I'll ask you a question. I don't think it's too late, and I'll allude to that why I think that in a minute. But I'll ask you a question. If Frank Lampard is still in charge for this next run of fixtures we've got, the next 5 games, how many points do we get?
0.
So, if he's still in charge for the next 5 games, and we don't get any points, ask me that question in 5 games' time.
Well, at that point, we'll be cut adrift as well. So we will be. But in the next 5 fixtures, I'm pretty sure we play Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool. And Liverpool, Leeds, and Villa.
Yeah.
we may get a point at home against Villa, and we may beat Leeds, but we ain't getting nothing out of the other three.
And current situation, whether we're home or away, I think Villa beat us.
Yeah, and
because they've got a better manager, Michael. They've got a better squad of players.
And that is another point. You know, they saw things were going wrong with Steven Gerrard at a similar time that things
made a change.
They made a change. They brought in a manager who had a little bit of experience building a team. You know, and I'm not going to say that this Villa team is Unai Emery's team, but look at the new manager bounce. I think they've won 5 out of 7 games.
Yeah.
But imagine what that would have done after the Bournemouth game for Everton. You know, Wolves at home.
Yeah. And we said this, Michael. We had the World Cup break.
Right, and
we had time.
We could have. I mean, in my opinion, we should be beating Wolves and Southampton. So they're 6, maybe a point at home against Brighton. That's how far we've fallen, by the way. But in my opinion, we should be 7 points better off than we are now.
7 points better off, but probably where I said we should be, between 10th and 14th. Yeah. 14th.
I find it absolutely crazy that this decision hasn't been made, and we've strolled into January as if we're, you know, it's almost as if the board do not believe that Everton can go down. They didn't have transfers lined up in January. They haven't got outgoings lined up in January. They didn't do any planning with after the Bournemouth game with Frank Lampard, because quite clearly nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed on that. From that Bournemouth game to that Wolves game, in that 6-week period, nothing changed.
Nothing. Because we're too slow to act as a club, Michael. Too slow to act. No other Premier League club keeps their manager with the figures that Frank Lampard's got.
Well, look at West Ham. Look at Chelsea. All of a sudden, within 24 hours, Chelsea spent £90 million on Mudryk. Within 36 hours, West Ham signed Danny Ings. We've been going after Dan Juma for about a week.
Well, apparently he had his medical yesterday. We've still heard nothing. Nothing. We don't hear nothing.
I mean, what is that a case of Dan Juma may have spoken to Lampard? Lampard's gone, yeah, come and sign for us. I'll help you or whatever. And as soon as Lampard goes, Dan Juma's going to go, oh, actually, no, I'm not signing for you, though. Because that can happen. Isn't it? Medical.
Lampard wasn't involved in the talks that took place in London last week. It was all Kevin Thelwell. What does that tell you if the manager's not?
Well, yeah, I mean, that speaks volumes, but he could have had a phone call. He could have done something that hasn't been reported. All I'm saying is you've got a player potentially signing for Everton that doesn't even know what style of football he's going to be playing.
Who his manager's going to be.
Who his manager's going to be and how he's going to fit in the team. You know, Dan Juma's been brought in by Kevin Thelwell. Is Kevin Thelwell taking the team training? Is he going to be the one saying, right, Dan Juma, you get on the left-hand side and you're going to carry that ball. You're going to be part of the 3 with Damari Gray and Calvert-Lewin. You're going to be the one, mate. You're going to be the fantastic one. Then Sam Allardyce comes in and does what he did with Ademola Lookman. Yeah, mate, I don't need to play you. I'm going to stick you on the bench because I'd rather have a slow team.
It's the shit show of Everton Football Club, Michael.
It's like spending £20 million on Mikalenko and then sacking the manager 3 days later.
How poor's he been?
John, we could go through the whole team, but the point is, this board and the whole model of this director of football stuff, I just don't like it. I don't agree with it. I just want a manager to come in and he'd say to the board, I want these 5 players, help me sign them. Where's my budget? I don't like this coach, director of football
Yeah, never.
players. The coach is kind of like, oh yeah, thanks for giving me him. I really appreciate it. I'll try and fit him in. No, give the bloke who is standing on the touchline all the
job of bringing players and selling players.
Because
I've never liked the director of football.
I don't understand the positive around it because there isn't one, in my opinion. And while Everton have a group of players that you have absolutely spot on said don't know what they're doing, don't have an identity. What the?
Leaders. There's no leaders in the team. They're all too quiet.
Yeah, but
this is the problem you've got.
We've got Tarkowski, who was meant to be gobby, and at the start of the season he was. You've got Connor Cody, meant to be gobby. You know, you've got. I'm seeing more. Me and you sat really close to each other for the Southampton game. We were literally 10 rows apart, and there was one moment where Damari Gray got tackled at that end, and he has a go at the linesman. No other Everton player backs him up. Nobody speaks to the ref. Nobody does nothing. It was a foul. It was a foul all day. The ball goes down the other end. Anthony Gordon puts in a ridiculous challenge on Ward-Prowse. You've got Southampton players going, you know, card him, do whatever. He scores a free kick. Makes it 2-1. You know, there's no fight in the players. And I'm not saying I agree with circling refs and all of that, but I do want to see a bit more. There was one thing about Phil Neville. I'm not going to say he was a brilliant captain. I'm not going to say he was a brilliant footballer. But my God, you heard him.
Yeah.
You heard him.
This is the problem you've got. We've got a team of quiet players, but you've also got a team that they don't back each other up, Michael, in situations like that. You know, I watched the Arsenal Man United game today, and you know, they were putting tackles in, and if his teammates didn't agree with the tackle that had just been made on him, they were in the referee's face. And again, I'm not saying it's right to circle the referee and get in his face, or they were having a go at the opposition's players. You know, what's he doing that for? That was bad. We don't do that. We just as a club, we just take it and accept it. Everything. We just accept everything, whether it's this board, whether it's the players not performing, you know, whether the players aren't getting in the referee's face or the opposition's face or putting up a fight or backing their teammates up. They don't do it. This club just accepts stuff, everything. And what hope have you got of staying in this Premier League when the club just accepts things? Because as you said before, they've either accepted that we're not going to go down, or they've accepted it's too late.
In my opinion, Everton need a minimum.
We need to win 7 games, I think.
Of 25 points, I'd argue, to get 40 points. You might get away with 20. This season with the maths, you may get away with getting 21 points, which is 7 wins, which puts us 36 points. But I'm telling you, we are so close to the relegation number that would be... I don't know where they come from, John.
I don't know where they come from, but do you know what worries me? Do you know if we don't hear nothing from the club regarding Frank Lampard, okay? And they decide that they're not going to sack him and they're still going to keep faith with him, right? By the time we play our next game, the transfer window's closed. So if he's still there, he'll possibly get the players that he wants or he's asked for. If he's not there, we've then got 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, to get a manager in, for him to identify players and agree with Kevin Thelwell on, integrate them into the team before we play Arsenal and Liverpool. These decisions need to be made in the next day or 2 at the most.
Sorry, John. I actually think it should have happened already. I actually think on Saturday, after the game, Frank Lampard should have been told, thank you for your time, but unfortunately we're going in another direction. And I think that on the coach home, in the car home, Moshiri, Kenwright, Usmanov, whoever it is, I mean, I'm joking with Usmanov, it's clearly not, but whoever it was should be on the phone to Sean Dyche, whoever it is, and say, what do you want to keep us up? We'll give you an 18-month contract. What do you want? And honestly, he'd be coming in tomorrow and starting training.
New ideas.
He'd be there. He'd be like, right, lads, this is what we're going to have to do. this is how we're going to implement it, and we've got 2 weeks to do it. Again, we're waiting. Sean Dyche may not be in now, or whoever it is, until Wednesday or Thursday. You've wasted 4 days. You've wasted 4 days.
4 days is a lot in trying to get the best out of these players. Put your ideas across, and then that leaves you with just over a week for the transfer window. So, for me, personally, a decision should have been made after the Bournemouth game.
Yeah.
Should have been done then. But you know, it's gone. It wasn't. Now we're waiting again. For Everton to make this decision. There might not be any decision that they're going to make because they might just stick with him. But it's the not knowing that's making it worse. Because I said now, and I've said before, and I'll say it again, Michael, Frank Lampard stays in charge of this team, mate. We're down, we're gone. We'll be down by April if Frank Lampard doesn't get the boot. We will be down by April.
Yeah, agreed. Right, that's it. I think that's enough in it, really. You know, it's enough.
Now, over the 2 videos, I think we've put our heart on our sleeve and got how we're feeling out. And hopefully the next video we do, it'll be a bit more positive because
with
players come in. There'll be videos before that. But what I'm hoping for is we'll be talking about new players coming in or a change in manager. Because they're the 2 things we need. We need a lot more than that, by the way, at this football club. But at the minute, all that matters to us Evertonians is this football club staying in the Premier League, because it will break my heart after all the history that this club's had. If we play our last year at Goodison Park in the Championship, that would just be an Everton thing, and I just couldn't think of.
And you know what? I know that stadiums are objects. They're not people. But how much of a disgrace would that be to the old lady if that was the case?
Mate, it's just, it doesn't bear thinking about just yet, but I think we've got to start thinking about it soon, because if changes aren't made, that's exactly what's going to happen, and it'd break my heart to leave Goodison Park in the Championship. That would just be the icing on the cake for the shit show that Everton Football Club is.
Yeah, do you know what? It doesn't even excite me. I mean, it sounds stupid, but it doesn't even excite me, the fact that if Everton somehow managed to keep some of their better players and had a Championship, you know, understanding manager, because let's be honest, we haven't. Winning the Championship doesn't fill me with any confidence or any excitement.
No, it doesn't. No, and to be honest with you, Michael, there's better teams in our Championship. I've said it before, there's better teams in that Championship than Everton. We go down, mate, we don't come back up. We don't come back up.
Agreed. Right, sound. John, love you as always.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Do you want to do the outro to everyone? Because, you know, you do it. I did it yesterday. You were crying like a bitch.
Yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button as well. And hopefully in the next day or 2, we will be back with a more positive video for you folks. Any comments that you want to say or anything, just put them in. They do get read, but there was a lot of comments yesterday, so that's why we didn't reply to all of them. But thanks very much for the good feedback, and we will be back soon, folks. Cheers.
Bye, guys.